Chosen one. Pause right here. You did not land on these words by chance. Heaven pressed pause on everything around you so this message could reach your heart. You are marked for overflow, not for scraps. You are not placed on this earth to merely survive. You are positioned to carry a billionaire's blessing. A blessing that will not just lift you, but generations after you. You have felt the weight of struggle. Nights when you lay awake wondering why doors refused to open, why your efforts seemed hidden, why your life felt smaller than the dreams swelling inside your chest. Yet, even in the silence, God was preparing you. Like a seed buried in the ground, you were never forgotten. You were being positioned for multiplication. I want you to picture this. A seed does not complain in the dark. It waits. It endures the pressure of the soil. And then, when the appointed time arrives, it breaks through the earth. Unstoppable, carrying new life. That is you, chosen one. You are breaking into a season of abundance. The world around you may say, "It's impossible. People like you don't rise to that level." But heaven has already decreed otherwise. You are not called to blend in with the ordinary. You are called to rise, to shine, to walk with an anointing that shifts atmospheres. Now hear me. This blessing is not about vanity. It is about kingdom impact. You are chosen to be a steward of wealth that advances light, not darkness. That is why the road has been so narrow for you. Others cut corners and seem to win quickly. But you, God would not let you settle. He kept you hidden until your foundation was unshakable. I remember a story of a young woman, a chosen one. Like you, she worked in silence, often mocked by family who could not see her calling. She carried vision in her heart, but lacked resources in her hand. For years, she prayed, "God, why the delay?" But when the appointed season came, investors found her, opportunities opened suddenly. What once was just survival became overflow. And in that overflow, she built shelters for the homeless and provided education for children who had no future. That is the kind of shift God is preparing in your life. You are not overlooked. You are set apart. And this is not a casual message. It is divine interruption. Do not ignore it. According to what is revealed in the book of Deuteronomy, chapter 8, verse 18, "But remember the Lord your God, for it is He who gives you the ability to produce wealth and so confirms His covenant." These words are not suggestion, they are declaration. God Himself is the source of your coming overflow. This is the moment where you decide if you will believe the promise or cling to the pain. Your billionaire blessing is not distant, it is already in motion. The soil of your struggle is cracking open. You will see it. You will hold it. You will walk in it. Before we move further, let this be your act of faith. If this message resonates in your spirit, if you sense that heaven is speaking directly to you right now, then take one bold step. Subscribe, like, and share, so this word can reach another chosen one. And at the bottom, comment the number 888, a prophetic sign of covenant wealth and new creation blessing. Chosen one, you are marked. Overflow is your portion. And the story is only beginning. You have walked through a hidden season of preparation. It felt like a wilderness, but it was never wasted. God does not waste pain, and He does not waste silence. Every delay, every closed door, every unreturned call was a divine classroom. You were being refined, not rejected. Think of a sculptor chiseling away at stone. To the untrained eye, it looks like destruction, but in the artist's vision, it is precision. Each strike is intentional. Each fragment that falls away reveals more of the masterpiece beneath. That is what your hidden season has been. Painful, yes, but also purposeful. The chosen ones are rarely rushed. While others seem to sprint ahead, you were held back, and it stung. You questioned your worth, questioned your calling, even questioned if God still remembered you. But what you did not see was that you were being rooted. Quick success without deep roots collapses. You, however, were being anchored so that when abundance comes, you will not be swept away by its weight. I recall the story of a man who carried vision too heavy for his current season. He worked quietly in a warehouse, unseen, often overlooked by co-workers who mocked his faith. His hands blistered from labor, but his heart carried dreams of creating a company that would employ many. For years, nothing shifted, but he kept showing up, kept learning, kept serving. And then, suddenly, the door swung open. A mentor appeared. A small idea became a stream of income. That stream became a river. Today, he funds missions across nations. What looked like delay was actually foundation. Chosen one. Your preparation has been sacred. You were being taught to hear God in whispers, so that when the noise of wealth comes, you will still discern His voice. You were trained to endure lack, so that when abundance arrives, greed will not own you. As the ancient words recorded in Romans chapter 5, verses 3 to 4 declare, "We glory in our sufferings, because suffering produces perseverance, character, and character." I hope this is the path you walked. You were not just surviving hardship, you were being formed into someone who could carry the weight of blessing with integrity. Imagine a bow being pulled back. The further it is drawn, the more tension it endures. The greater the force of its release. That is you. The tension you have carried, the pressure you have felt, is evidence of a coming launch. Heaven has been stretching you, not breaking you. There were moments you wanted to quit, but still you rose. Others betrayed you, but you chose forgiveness. Opportunities seemed locked, but you kept knocking. These choices in secret were not wasted. They were recorded in eternity. Every tear became a seed. Every prayer became a pillar. Every step of faith became part of the structure for your future. Your hidden season was not small, it was sacred. And when the curtain lifts, people will say, "Where did this come from? How did they rise so suddenly?" But you will know. You will remember the years of silence, the nights of tears, the mornings when only God's whisper sustained you. And you will understand. The delay was not denial. It was divine design. Chosen one. The stage is shifting. What once felt like confinement will soon be revealed as preparation. You were never forgotten. You were being sharpened in the dark so that you can shine in the light. Chosen one. Listen closely. What you are stepping into is not ordinary provision. It is a prophetic wealth transfer. The resources that once seemed locked in the hands of the wicked are being redirected. The tide is turning. What was used to build systems of greed will be overturned to build altars of light. This may sound unbelievable, but it has always been God's way. He takes from Pharaoh to deliver Israel. He causes the wealth of Egypt to be handed to the ones who were once slaves. That is why you have faced resistance. The enemy knows you are marked as a carrier of kingdom resources. Picture a dam holding back water. For years it builds pressure. People walking nearby may not notice the growing force hidden behind concrete walls. But when the moment comes and the gate opens, the flood cannot be stopped. That is the season you are entering. The dam of delay is about to break. And what has been withheld will surge into your life. The Word of God declares in the book of Proverbs, chapter 13, verse 22, "The wealth of the sinner is laid up for the righteous." This is not theory, it is promise. And that promise is now unfolding before your eyes. But here is the warning. This blessing is not for idle comfort. It is for assignment. You are called to feed the hungry, to lift the broken, to fund visions that align with heaven's heartbeat. If God can trust you to be a river, He will never allow you to run dry. But if you try to become a reservoir that hoards, the flow will stop. Let me tell you about a man who once thought wealth was far from his reach. He was a janitor, overlooked and dismissed. But he carried a secret passion for invention. In his hidden hours, he scribbled designs on scraps of paper. One day, an unexpected conversation with a business leader unlocked an opportunity. That one door changed everything. His simple idea became a global product, and from janitor's wages, he rose to funding schools, shelters, and gospel missions. What happened? The wealth transfer. God moved resources from where they were idle into the hands of one who would steward them for light. Chosen one. You are standing where He once stood. The world may not recognize you yet, but heaven already has. What you thought you lost, God will return, multiplied. What seemed delayed will arrive accelerated. The transfer is in motion. This is why your integrity matters. This is why your heart must stay pure. Because abundance without character destroys, but abundance with righteousness transforms nations. Now, I want you to do something simple yet prophetic. Comment, "I am ready." These 3 words are not just casual agreement, they are declaration. By writing them, you are stepping into covenant alignment. You are telling heaven, "I am prepared to carry wealth with wisdom. I am ready to let God use me as a vessel. I am ready for responsibility as much as for blessing." These words are a key unlocking the next level of trust between you and God. Chosen one. Your portion is not crumbs. It is overflow. The wealth of the world is shifting, and it is being placed in your hands for such a time as this. Chosen one. You have walked through battles that were not only financial, but spiritual. The spirit of lack has tried to wrap itself around your family line for generations. It whispered that you would never rise, that you would always be the one borrowing, never lending. But the grip of that curse is being broken. Lack is not simply about money. It is about mindset. It is about living with ceilings placed over your life. Ceilings that convince you to dream small, to settle for less, to believe survival is the best you can achieve. Yet God is not the author of scarcity. He is the God of more than enough. Imagine a bird raised inside a cage. Even when the door is opened, the bird hesitates to fly because it has been conditioned to believe the cage is its only world. That has been the story of many chosen ones, conditioned by lack, taught to accept little, and afraid to believe for more. But today, the cage is opening, and the sky is calling your name. The Spirit spoke through the prophet Hosea, Chapter 4, verse 6. My people are destroyed for lack of knowledge. This is more than ignorance of facts. It is about not knowing who you are, not knowing what belongs to you, not knowing that heaven has written your name on blessings greater than what you see. The curse of lack often shows itself in patterns, families stuck in debt cycles, opportunities that seem to evaporate at the last moment, brilliant ideas that never receive support. But every chain has a breaking point. And for you, that moment is now. I once heard the story of a young man who grew up in poverty so deep that he shared one pair of shoes with his brother. His classmates mocked him, and he carried shame like a heavy coat. But he held on to faith. He studied late at night by candlelight. He prayed for wisdom and refused to let lack define him. Years later, doors opened, and today he funds scholarships for children who grew up just like him. The curse broke with him. He refused to pass it on to the next generation. Chosen one. This is your reality too. The prayers you whisper today are not just shaping your own future, but rewriting the story of your descendants. Where there was once debt, there will be overflow. Where there was once fear, there will be boldness. Where there was once silence, there will be testimonies of God's provision. Think of a river flowing through dry land. At first, the soil resists, cracking and thirsty. But as the water keeps moving, the ground softens, and suddenly life bursts forth where there was only barrenness. That is the image of what God is doing in your life. Lack has no authority to remain. Chosen one. The curse is broken. The spirit of lack has no future in your household. You are stepping into overflow, not only for yourself, but for every life connected to you. The cage is open, the river is flowing, and you are free. And freedom is never small. It grows, it spreads, it multiplies. When you break free, those around you sense the shift. Children begin to dream again. Families dare to plan again. Communities awaken to hope again. Your deliverance becomes a doorway, and your breakthrough becomes a banner declaring to the world, lack has lost its grip forever. Chosen one. You are not just called to receive wealth, you are called to carry a mantle. A mantle is more than money. It is spiritual authority. A divine covering, a heavenly assignment placed on your shoulders. And your mantle is that of a kingdom financier. This means your hands will not simply hold riches, they will channel resources for the purposes of God. When others build monuments to themselves, you will build altars to heaven. When others boast about luxury, you will boast in the goodness of the Lord, pointing every blessing back to Him. Think of Joseph in Egypt. He was not promoted just for comfort. He was entrusted with abundance because God knew famine was coming and the nations would need a faithful steward. Joseph became the answer for multitudes because he carried the mantle of a financier, one who handles wealth for heaven's agenda. That same mantle is now being extended to you, as Jesus himself declared in the Gospel of Matthew, chapter 6, verse 21. For where your treasure is, there your heart will be also. These words pierce through every selfish desire. They remind us that true wealth is not measured by numbers in an account, but by the alignment of our hearts with God's purposes. Imagine wealth as fire. In the wrong hands, fire destroys homes. But in the right hands, fire warms, cooks, and gives light. The blessing that is coming is like fire. And because you have been refined in hidden seasons, heaven can now trust you to carry it without being consumed by it. Let me tell you a story. There was once a woman who lived simply, unnoticed in her small town. She loved to write down ideas for helping others, even though she barely had enough for herself. One day, an unexpected inheritance reached her far beyond what she imagined. Instead of hiding it away, she built homes for widows, supported missionaries, and started a business that employed dozens of single mothers. She wore the mantle of a kingdom financier. Her blessing became a blessing for countless lives. That is the vision God has for you. You are not being raised just to pay your bills. You are being raised to cancel the debts of others, to fund visions too big for one person, to stand as a vessel heaven can pour through. Chosen one. This mantle requires humility. It requires the courage to say, Lord, every blessing you give me, I return to you through obedience. When you walk in that posture, no enemy can stop the flow. And now, if this word is stirring inside you, if you can feel the weight of this mantle pressing upon your spirit, I invite you to take one simple but powerful action. Subscribe, like, and share this message so more chosen ones can awaken to their calling. Think of it this way. Every share is like planting a seed in someone else's garden. Every like shines like a lantern in the night guiding another soul. And every subscription is like stepping into a flowing river that keeps pouring fresh water into your spirit. Chosen one, lift your head. You are not ordinary. You are called to be a financier for the kingdom of heaven. And the resources being released into your hands will not just change your life, they will shift history. Your mantle is not a weight of burden, but a crown of trust. A sign that heaven has found you, ready to carry what others could not. Chosen one. You have carried dreams that felt larger than your wallet, visions that towered over your resources, and you wondered, how can I possibly achieve this when I don't even have enough for today? But hear this clearly. God does not place a vision in your spirit without also preparing the provision. If the dream is divine, the resources will follow. The truth is, heaven often gives dreams that terrify your budget. That is the proof they are not man-made. If you could achieve them by your own calculation, you would never need faith. But God writes assignments on your heart that are so immense, only He can fund them. Think of Noah. He was told to build an ark of impossible size. By human reasoning, it was madness. By financial logic, it was unattainable. Yet, step by step, plank by plank, the vision became a vessel that saved generations. What started as a dream too big became a reality too undeniable. We are reminded through the writings of David in the Psalms, chapter 37, verse 4, "Delight yourself in the Lord, and He will give you the desires of your heart." This is not about shallow wishes. It is about divine desires, the visions God plants within you because they align with His purposes. Your dream may be to open a business that transforms your community, to write books that heal wounded hearts, to start initiatives that rescue children from despair, or to carry solutions that shift nations. These are not fantasies. They are assignments. And if they are God-given, then they are also God-funded. I recall the story of a man who longed to start a school in a poor village. His resources were barely enough to buy books for one child. Yet, he carried a vision for hundreds. People laughed, but he held on to faith. One day, a philanthropist passing through heard his heart and funded the entire project. What was once a dream became a campus filled with laughter, learning, and light. The dream was too big for his wallet, but not for his God. Chosen one, you too carry such a vision. And though it may feel impossible, that is the very reason you must not release it. If it was small enough to fit your budget, it would never require heaven's touch. Imagine standing before a locked door with a key far too small. You would assume entry is impossible. But then, a master key is placed in your hand, one that opens doors no man can shut. That is what provision from God feels like. You are not meant to force open doors by your own strength. You are meant to walk through doors heaven has already unlocked. Do not shrink your vision to match your resources. Stretch your faith to match your vision. The God who owns the cattle on 1,000 hills is not limited by your current account balance. He is not constrained by what you see. He is moved by what you believe. Chosen one. This is your prophetic act right now. Comment the number 444. Why? Because 444 represents open doors and established foundations. When you write it, you are declaring, my vision will not die in lack. God is opening doors and laying foundations beneath my feet. It is not superstition. It is a public act of faith, aligning your spirit with heaven's abundance. Lift your eyes. Stop measuring your future by the size of your wallet. Begin measuring it by the size of your God. What you have carried in silence is about to be resourced in power. Your vision is not too big. It is perfectly sized for the God who called you. Chosen one. There is an anointing resting on your life that changes the very laws of increase. It is the anointing of multiplication. This is not simple addition. It is the supernatural acceleration where what seemed small in your hands becomes abundant in God's. Think of the boy with 5 loaves and 2 fish. By human calculation, that was a lunch for one. But when placed in the hands of Jesus, it became a banquet for thousands. The principle is this: when you release what you have, however little it seems, into divine hands, multiplication is activated. We find in the second letter to the Corinthians, chapter 9, verse 10, now he who supplies seed to the sower and bread for food will also supply and increase your store of seed and will enlarge the harvest of your righteousness. This verse does not speak of subtraction. It speaks of expansion. God does not just provide, He multiplies. I once heard the story of a woman who ran a small bakery. She barely made enough to cover costs. But she prayed daily, Lord, bless the work of my hands. One winter, a storm shut down larger stores in her town, and suddenly her little bakery became the lifeline for hundreds. People came from miles away. Her simple loaves multiplied in impact, and her influence grew far beyond what she imagined. What she thought was small became the very thing that sustained her community. That is how multiplication works. It does not always begin with grandeur. It begins with what you already carry. Entrusted back to God, a seed sown becomes a tree. A single word of encouragement becomes a movement of healing. A humble act of obedience becomes a chain reaction of transformation. Picture a single spark landing on dry ground. At first it seems insignificant, barely noticeable. But as it touches the grass, a flame rises. That flame spreads, and soon a wildfire consumes the landscape. That is the nature of divine multiplication. One small spark in your life can ignite a blaze that touches nations. Chosen one. You have underestimated what is in your hand. You thought it was too little, too weak, too small to matter. But heaven is whispering, "Place it in my hands." You do not need to see how multiplication will unfold. You only need to surrender what you have. The anointing of multiplication is also tied to trust. God multiplies where hearts are faithful. If He can trust you with little, He will entrust you with much. Do not despise small beginnings. They are the proving ground for greater blessings. I remember another story of a man who started a youth outreach program with nothing but a borrowed room and 2 volunteers. At first, only 3 children came, but week by week, the number grew. Soon, the room could not hold them. Today, that outreach has become a global ministry, touching tens of thousands. From 3 children to nations, that is multiplication. Chosen one. Your portion is not stagnation. It is increase. The anointing resting on your life does not allow what you touch to remain the same. It will expand. It will stretch. It will overflow. Lift your eyes from the little in your hand and see the harvest it will become. You are not meant to remain where you started. The anointing of multiplication ensures that your impact will always surpass your imagination. Chosen one. When God prepares to bless you, He often does so in a way that confounds your enemies. He does not hide the blessing in secret. Instead, He sets a table for you right where those who mocked, doubted, and opposed, you can see it. This is not to shame them, but to reveal His power and His favor resting on your life. The voice of God thundered in the book of Psalms, chapter 23, verse 5. You prepare a table before me in the presence of my enemies. You anoint my head with oil. My cup overflows. This is more than poetry. It is a prophetic reality. Abundance and honor are given to you, not away from conflict, but in the very place where others once dismissed you. Imagine walking into a banquet hall. The lights are bright. The aroma of food fills the air, and the table stretches longer than you can see. Around the room stand those who once ridiculed you, who said you would never make it. Yet, here you are, seated at the head. And it is not your effort that placed you there, it is the hand of God. That is the image of divine vindication. Your blessing will not be hidden. It will be undeniable. The same mouths that spoke curses will speak astonishment. The same eyes that rolled in disbelief will widen in wonder. And the same hands that pushed you down will witness heaven lifting you up. I remember a story of a man who struggled for years in his business. His competitors mocked him openly, calling him a failure. He endured seasons of ridicule, yet he remained faithful in prayer. 1 year, a massive contract fell into his lap, and suddenly the tables turned. Those same competitors began asking him for guidance. He did not rise by revenge. He rose by favor. His story became living proof of Psalm 23:5. Chosen one. Your story is following that same pattern. The ones who doubted you will not need to be told of your blessing. They will see it. It will be written across your life like a banner. God was with you. Think of a candle lit in a dark room. The darkness cannot cover the flame. It only makes the flame more visible. In the same way, opposition will not bury your blessing. It will highlight it. Every attempt of the enemy to silence you will only magnify what God does for you. Do not despise the presence of enemies. They are part of the testimony. Without Goliath, David would not have been known as a giant slayer. Without Pharaoh, Israel would not have seen the Red Sea part. without doubters, your rise would not shine so brightly. Chosen one, you are being prepared for a table, and not just any table, a table of overflow, a table of recognition, a table that displays the faithfulness of God. You will not have to announce your arrival. The feast itself will declare it. So rest in this truth. The presence of enemies is not proof of abandonment. It is proof of coming vindication. The very ground where you were mocked will be the ground where you are crowned. The very stage where you were underestimated will be the stage where God showcases His glory. Chosen one, you are not here to blend into the background. You are here because you are a carrier of divine solutions. The world is not waiting for another copy. It is waiting for your originality, your God-given creativity, your answers that no one else can release. Every problem on earth is a doorway for someone's purpose. Joseph interpreted Pharaoh's dream and unlocked strategy to save nations. Daniel solved mysteries in Babylon that baffled the wisest men of the land. Esther stepped into a moment of courage that preserved her people. Their lives were not accidents, they were solutions. And so are you, according to what is revealed in the book of James. Chapter 1, verse 5. If any of you lacks wisdom, let him ask of God, who gives generously to all, without finding fault, and it will be given to him. This wisdom is not ordinary insight. It is divine clarity that pierces confusion, a light that exposes hidden answers. Perhaps you have felt small because your ideas were dismissed. Maybe you shared a vision, only to be laughed at. But remember, Noah looked like a fool until the rain came. The ridicule you faced was not proof of weakness, it was proof you carried something the world had not yet seen. Think of a key. To the unknowing eye, it is just a piece of metal, but when inserted into the right lock, it opens doors that seemed impossible. That is you. You may look ordinary, but within you is the exact shape needed to unlock someone's freedom, healing, or breakthrough. I once met a man who grew up poor but had a passion for clean water. He dreamed of designing wells for villages with none. People mocked him, telling him it was unrealistic. Yet today, thousands drink fresh water because he pursued the solution God planted in him. His story proves that divine ideas are not suggestions, they are assignments. Chosen one, you carry such an assignment. You may not see its full scale yet, but the answers inside you are seeds of transformation. When nurtured with prayer, obedience, and courage, they grow into trees that shelter many. Your solution might be hidden in your art, your business ideas, your compassion, your leadership, or your ability to listen deeply. Do not underestimate what heaven has placed within you. What feels small in your hands could be history-shaping when released. Now, anchor this truth with a declaration. Comment, I carry answers. These 3 words are not casual, they are identity. By writing them, you are proclaiming that you will not bury what God has placed inside you. You are affirming, I recognize the treasure within me. I refuse to let fear silence my assignment. I accept that my life is heaven's response to someone's need. When you type those words, you are stepping into agreement with your calling as a vessel of divine solutions. Chosen one. The world is groaning for solutions, and you are heaven's response. You carry answers that cannot be duplicated. Rise, and let your light disrupt the darkness. And never forget this, the solution you carry may look small now, but it is heaven-sized in impact. It may begin as a whisper in your heart, a sketch on paper, a sentence you write in the dark, but when breathed on by the Spirit, it becomes a movement. The world does not need another echo. It needs your voice, your courage, your divine originality. Heaven has already placed within you what earth is waiting for. Chosen one, your journey is not random, it is orchestrated. Every season you have endured, every tear you have shed, every battle you have survived has been preparing you for this moment of stewardship and glory. You are stepping into a chapter where your influence will not only touch individuals, but ripple across communities, nations, and generations. There is something sacred about this moment. You are not simply being blessed, you are being entrusted. The resources, the opportunities, the connections that are about to arrive in your life are not mere possessions. They are assignments. You are being called to carry wealth as a sacred responsibility, a trust that will bring light where there has been darkness. As the Apostle reminds us in his first letter to the Corinthians, chapter 4, verse 2, now it is required that those who have been given a trust must prove faithful. Faithfulness is not about perfection, it is about posture. It is the decision to treat every blessing as holy, every opportunity as divine, and every resource as belonging first to God. Think of your life like a garden. God places seeds in your care, some small, some large. You do not own the seed, but you are chosen to nurture it, water it, protect it, and watch it grow. And when it bears fruit, the fruit is not just for you, it is for the hungry who will come to your table. That is stewardship. Or imagine being handed a torch in the middle of the night. You could keep it to yourself and walk alone. But the real beauty comes when you lift it high, allowing others to see and walk in safety. Your wealth, your influence, your resources, these are torches meant to guide, not trophies meant to hoard. I once knew a man who received a sudden inheritance. Many around him assumed he would vanish into a life of indulgence. Instead, he built a clinic in a poor community where no doctor had ever served. To this day, children live who would have died, simply because he understood his blessing as stewardship. He carried his mantle with reverence, and his story is still unfolding in the lives he touched. Chosen one. This is where your life is heading. You will be trusted with much because you have proven faithful with little. You have prayed when no one was watching. You have given when it hurt. You have remained steadfast when it was easier to walk away. Heaven has seen it all. And now, the mantle of stewardship is being placed on your shoulders. But stewardship is not a burden, it is an honor. It is not a chain around your neck, but a crown upon your head. When you walk in this calling, you do not feel drained, you feel alive. Because giving, building, funding, creating all of it is what you were designed for. It is not loss, it is legacy. And now, as you step into this reality, let your response also be an act of stewardship. Subscribe, like, and share this message. Not out of pressure, but out of alignment. Each like is like pouring water on this seed so it reaches deeper roots. Each share is like passing the torch to another soul walking in darkness. Each subscription is like saying, I want to remain connected to this flow of anointing, to nurture what God is birthing in me. You are not forced into this. It is an invitation. A beautiful choice. A way of saying, I recognize this word is food for my soul, and I want it to feed others too. Left, chosen one. Your life is about to become a testimony that stewardship is glory, not chains, not loss, but a radiant crown of responsibility that changes the world. And when you carry it well, heaven itself will say, well done, Left, chosen one. You are entering a season where time itself seems to shift. What once dragged slowly will suddenly move swiftly. The dreams that felt distant, the prayers that felt unanswered, the visions that seemed delayed are about to manifest in accelerated fashion. This is not coincidence, this is divine timing. Acceleration is a sign that heaven's clock is striking in your favor. What took others decades to build will come to you in years. What seemed impossible in your strength will be accomplished swiftly by His hand. You are not behind. You are right on schedule with God's appointed time, as was spoken in the sacred texts of Habakkuk. Chapter 2, verse 3. For the revelation awaits an appointed time. It speaks of the end and will not prove false. Though it linger, wait for it. It will certainly come and will not delay. These words are a compass for your spirit. They remind you that delay is never denial. And when the appointed hour arrives, nothing can hold back the vision. Imagine standing on a runway, watching a plane take off. For a long stretch, it races on the ground, gathering speed but remaining earthbound. Then, suddenly, almost effortlessly, it lifts, defying gravity. That is your story. You have been gaining speed in the hidden place, and now the lift is coming. I recall the story of a man who dreamed of becoming a doctor. For years, he faced rejection from every school. He worked odd jobs, feeling forgotten, until one day, the letter came. Not only was he accepted, but a scholarship covered everything. The years of delay were suddenly overtaken by acceleration. Today, he heals countless lives, and every patient is a reminder that waiting was not wasted. Chosen one. Do not despise the waiting season. It was building capacity in you. It was strengthening your character. It was shaping your discernment. Now, as the door swings open, you will move faster because you are prepared deeper. Think of bamboo. For years after being planted, nothing seems to happen. The ground looks barren, yet beneath the surface, roots are spreading wide and deep. Then, in a single season, it shoots up rapidly, growing feet in weeks. That is acceleration, hidden years suddenly crowned with explosive growth. Acceleration does not mean chaos. It means alignment. It means God is positioning you where opportunity, preparation, and divine favor converge. It means the small steps you once took in faith will now be amplified into leaps. Chosen one. You will see divine connections form quickly. You will watch resources appear suddenly. You will experience doors opening that you could not have forced open in a lifetime, and in every detail, you will know it was the hand of God, not your striving. Do not fear the speed of the blessing. Your preparation was not in vain. You will not be crushed by the acceleration. You will be carried by it. The same God who pressed pause to refine you is the God who now presses fast forward to exalt you. Chosen one. Your season of acceleration is here. Lift your eyes, steady your heart, and prepare to run. The years the enemy tried to steal are being redeemed in double measure. What once seemed stuck is about to move with unstoppable momentum. Chosen one. Some doors open with keys, but others open only through obedience. This is one of those moments. You have prayed. You have dreamed. You have endured seasons of waiting. But now you stand at the edge of unusual doors, doors that will swing wide, not by effort, but by radical acts of faith. Faith is not passive. It is not just believing quietly in your heart. Faith is action. Noah built an ark before he ever saw rain. Abraham stepped out before he knew the destination. Peter cast his net after a whole night of failure. Their obedience unlocked doors that logic never could. The ancient words recorded in Hebrews. Chapter 11, verse 8 declare, "By faith Abraham, when called to go to a place he would later receive as his inheritance, obeyed and went, even though he did not know where he was going." That is the essence of prophetic obedience, trusting the voice of God even when the path is unclear. Think of it this way. Obedience is like striking a match in the dark. It seems small, almost insignificant. Yet the moment flame appears, the darkness begins to retreat. One small act can shift an entire atmosphere. I remember a woman who felt prompted to give away her last savings to support a missionary. It seemed reckless. Yet within days, a job opportunity opened that doubled her income. That one act of obedience did not just bless another, it unlocked her own provision. Her story reminds us, obedience is the trigger of multiplication. Chosen one. You may feel God asking you to take steps that stretch your faith, starting the project, though the resources aren't visible yet. Applying for the position, though you feel unqualified. Forgiving someone, though the wound is still tender. Each act of obedience is a seed, and seeds always produce a harvest. Imagine a farmer holding onto seeds but refusing to plant them. They remain potential, never fruit. But the moment he releases them into the soil, life begins to stir beneath the ground. That is your obedience. It may feel like loss at first, but it is really the beginning of gain. This is why I am calling you to seal this moment with a prophetic sign. Comment the number 555. Why? Because 555 represents grace upon grace, divine favor, multiplying, doors opening, not by striving, but by supernatural alignment. When you write it, you are saying, "Lord, I choose obedience. I choose to trust your voice. I step into grace beyond my strength." Olu, chosen one. Heaven is watching. Your faith is not invisible. Your obedience will not go unrewarded. The unusual doors you have prayed for will not remain closed forever. They are waiting for your yes. And when you step, even trembling, the path beneath your feet will become solid. Do not underestimate the power of one act of faith. It may look small to the world, but in heaven's eyes it is monumental. Step forward, obey, and watch as divine doors swing wide. And understand this, obedience is never about losing control. It is about gaining alignment. What you release today will return tomorrow in multiplied form. Every yes you give to God is a brick laid in the foundation of your destiny. And one day, you will look back and see that the smallest acts of surrender were the turning points that carried you into unimaginable blessing. Chosen one. Sometimes God proves his power, not in the palace but in the wilderness. It is in the driest, most barren places that his provision shines brightest. When resources are gone, When strength is empty, when hope feels thin, he reveals himself as the God who makes rivers flow in deserts. The wilderness is not punishment. It is preparation. It strips away every false source of security so that only one truth remains. God alone is the source. And when you learn that lesson in the dry place, no abundance will ever lure you into forgetting him. The prophet Isaiah proclaimed in chapter 43, verse 19, "See, I am doing a new thing. Now it springs up. Do you not perceive it? I am making a way in the wilderness and streams in the wasteland." These words are not metaphor alone. They are reality for the chosen ones who dare to trust when everything around them says, impossible. And think of Israel wandering in the desert. No markets, no farms, no wells. Yet every morning, manna appeared. Every evening, quail came. Their sandals did not wear out. The wilderness was not a graveyard, it was a training ground. They learned to depend daily on the God who never fails. I once heard of a young couple who lost everything in an economic crash. Their savings evaporated overnight. They had no plan B, no safety net. Yet, in that wilderness, they began to pray, to seek God earnestly. Ideas came small at first, then larger. Within a few years, they built a company that now feeds hundreds of families. Their desert became the birthplace of rivers. Chosen one. Perhaps you feel that dryness now. Perhaps you wonder why prayers seem unanswered, why the landscape of your life feels barren. But listen closely. Deserts are deceptive. Beneath the cracked soil, seeds often lie dormant, waiting for the water. And God is the one who sends the rain. Picture an artist with a blank canvas. At first it looks empty, lifeless, but with each brushstroke, color emerges. Form takes shape, and suddenly beauty appears where there was once nothing. Your wilderness is that canvas. God is painting something new. What looks like emptiness is becoming a masterpiece. The wilderness also humbles us. When we have little, pride is stripped away. We remember that we are dust, dependent on grace. And yet, it is in humility that God delights to pour out abundance, because he knows we will not worship the blessing but the giver. Chosen one, do not fear the dry place. Embrace it. Walk it with faith. For in the wilderness, intimacy with God deepens. Noisefad. Distractions fall away, and his voice grows clearer. And when he speaks, rivers appear, streams break open, and life flourishes where death once reigned. One day soon, you will look back on this season and realize it was not the end, but the beginning. The desert was never meant to destroy you. It was meant to reveal God's unshakable power. Rivers will flow, seeds will grow, and the wilderness you feared will become the testimony that sustains others. Chosen one, your dry ground is not your final ground. You are standing on the soil of future rivers. Hold your faith. Lift your eyes, for water is on the way. And when the water comes, it will not be a trickle, but a flood, washing over every barren place and leaving behind evidence of God's undeniable faithfulness. Chosen one, before the crown comes the crushing, before the rising comes the humbling. This is a mystery woven into every chosen life. You have been lowered not to be diminished, but to be rooted, pressed not to be destroyed, but to be shaped. The humbling before rising is not weakness, It is preparation for glory. The world sees humility as fragility, but heaven sees it as strength. Pride is a brittle foundation. It crumbles quickly under the weight of blessing, but humility is like deep bedrock. It can hold unimaginable weight without collapsing. That is why God has taken you through seasons where you were misunderstood, overlooked, even rejected. He was anchoring you in humility so that when abundance arrives, you will not be moved. The Word of God reminds us in the book of Proverbs, chapter 22, verse 4, "Humility is the fear of the Lord. Its wages are riches and honor and life." Notice the order: riches, honor, and life do not precede humility, they follow it. The crown does not come before the bowing, it comes because of it. Think of gold being refined. It is placed in fire, its impurities exposed, its sheen hidden under heat. Yet the fire does not destroy, it purifies. The longer it endures, the brighter it emerges. You too have been through fire, seasons where you felt stripped, vulnerable, unseen. Yet, in that refining, your value was not diminished. It was magnified. I remember the story of a young leader who felt ready to step into influence. He pushed for recognition, but every attempt ended in frustration. Instead, he found himself serving quietly in places no one valued. Years passed. Humility was being carved deep in him. Then, suddenly, a door opened. His leadership was needed, and because humility had already shaped him, he carried authority with grace. Those years of hiddenness had not been wasted. They had prepared him to rise without arrogance. Chosen one. That is your story as well. The humbling was never meant to break you. It was meant to build you. Every no was not rejection, but protection. Every closed door was heaven whispering, "Not yet." And every delay was shaping in you the kind of strength that does not boast in itself, but in the Lord. Picture a tree. When the storm comes, shallow roots are torn up easily, but deep roots hold firm. The humbling seasons were digging your roots deeper. Others may have sprouted quickly, rising fast in shallow soil. But when storms struck, they toppled. You, however, have been hidden longer, pressed deeper, anchored stronger, and when you rise, you will not fall. Humility also creates space for compassion. Because you have known struggle, you will not look down on those who struggle. Because you have felt rejection, you will not reject. Because you have tasted lack, you will not mock the poor. Humility has made your heart a vessel big enough to carry the weight of blessing without crushing others beneath it. Chosen one. The crown is coming. But remember this, crowns sit safely only on heads bowed in reverence. You are being exalted, not to forget the valley, but to serve it. You are being lifted not to boast over enemies, but to bless even those who once opposed you. Your rising is near, but it will be steady, grounded in humility, anchored in compassion, rooted in reverence. And because of this, your crown will not slip. It will shine. Chosen one. You were never called to remain hidden within the walls of your own life. Your destiny is global. The wealth, wisdom, and influence God is preparing for, you are not limited to your household or even to your city. They are designed to ripple outwards and touch nations. You are chosen to carry global kingdom influence. This influence is not about fame or applause. It is about impact. When Joseph rose to power, His name became known across Egypt, not because he sought recognition, but because he stewarded resources faithfully. When Esther stepped into the palace, she became a voice for her people, not because she craved the throne, but because she carried courage. Their stories remind us that kingdom influence flows from obedience, not ambition. As written in the book of Proverbs, chapter 3, verse 6, "In all your ways acknowledge him, and he shall direct your paths." These words are short, but eternal. They remind you that your rising influence is never about your strength, but about your surrender. Imagine influence as light, shining through stained glass. Alone, a candle seems small, but when its flame shines through the colors, it projects beauty that fills the entire room. Your influence will not be about you, it will be about the light of God shining through you, refracted into colors the world has never seen. I recall the story of a businessman who started with nothing but a small shop. His heart was always to give, to lift others. Over time, his influence expanded beyond commerce. Governments sought his counsel. Entire regions were blessed by his generosity. His story proves that when you carry light, doors open that no human could have scripted. Chosen one. Your future holds this kind of reach, not for vanity, but for kingdom transformation. You will fund orphanages in lands you've never set foot in. You will spark revival in hearts you've never met. You will carry resources into places where hope has been dry. Nations will feel the ripple of your obedience. And now, I want to extend an invitation, not as pressure, but as a picture. Subscribe, like, share, and comment are not just digital actions. Think of them as living metaphors. When you like, it is as though you are adding one more flame to a growing fire. A single spark becomes a bonfire because of many flames joined together. When you share, it is like releasing a dove into the sky. You may not know where it will land, but it will reach someone in need of this word, carrying hope on its wings. When you subscribe, it is like planting your roots by a riverbank. You are choosing to remain connected to the flow, drawing nourishment and strength season after season. And when you comment, you are leaving behind a stone on the path. For those who come after, your words become markers, reminding them that they are not alone on this journey. Chosen one. You are free to act or not to act. But know this, every action taken in love becomes part of your testimony. These small steps, like whispers in the digital wilderness, can echo further than you imagine. Your global influence begins with the little acts of faithfulness you choose today. And as you lift your light, others will rise beside you. This is not pressure, it is a beautiful invitation to join the story. Heaven is already writing through your life. Chosen one. The promise of wealth and influence is glorious, but it also comes with warning. Every blessing carries a weight. Every crown comes with responsibility. Wealth mishandled does not simply fade, it corrodes. It corrupts. It consumes. That is why God, in His mercy, humbles and refines you before releasing overflow. He desires to preserve you from misuse. History has shown that money without purpose destroys. Kings have fallen because they trusted in gold more than in God. Empires have crumbled because abundance was wasted on vanity instead of used for justice. And even in our time, many rise quickly, but without wisdom, they collapse under the very blessing that lifted them. As the Apostle Paul warns in the first letter to Timothy, chapter 6, verse 10. For the love of money is a root of all kinds of evil. Notice carefully, it is not money itself, but love of it, obsession with it, worship of it, that leads to ruin. Wealth is not the enemy, idolatry is. Think of fire. In the hearth, it warms the home, cooks the food, gives light. But when uncontrolled, it burns houses to ashes. Wealth is like fire. In the hands of the wise, it sustains. In the hands of the careless, it destroys. I once heard of a man who rose from nothing to great riches, but the blessing became his downfall. He chased luxury, abandoned his family, and forgot the God who lifted him. Years later, when his empire collapsed, he was left alone. The wealth that was meant to bless instead devoured him. His story is a warning etched in history. Abundance without surrender leads to emptiness. Chosen one. This is why your preparation matters. God disciplines you not to punish, but to protect. He lets you walk through seasons of little, so that when much comes, your heart will not bow to it. He teaches you generosity and scarcity, so that when abundance flows, giving will be your instinct, not hoarding. Imagine a cup placed under a waterfall. If the cup is cracked, the water spills, wasted. But if the cup has been carefully mended, strengthened in the fire, it holds the flow and even overflows to others. You are that vessel. The trials you have faced were mending your cracks, sealing your weaknesses, preparing you to hold the torrent without breaking. Another image, a sword forged in fire. Metal is beaten, pressed, hammered, until it becomes sharp and strong. If released too early, it bends in battle. But if refined long enough, it stands unbreakable. So too with you. Wealth is a battlefield. Without refining, it bends the soul. With refining, it becomes a weapon for justice and mercy. The warning is real. Mishandled blessing can trap, deceive, and even destroy. But the promise is greater, preserved by humility. You will not fall. You will walk in integrity. You will remember the valleys when standing on mountains. You will honor God first. Even when abundance sings its tempting song. Chosen one. You are being trusted with treasures, not only for yourself, but for generations. Do not misuse them. Do not forget the source. For when wealth is surrendered, it becomes a river of life. But when hoarded, it becomes stagnant and foul. You will not be consumed. You will be preserved, and your blessing will be a testimony of light, not of loss. Chosen one. Everything you have walked through, the pain, the silence, the waiting, the refining has been leading to this truth. Your blessing is not for vanity. It is for destiny. The billionaire's blessing that is being released over your life is not about glittering wealth for its own sake. It is about purpose. It is about kingdom. It is about eternity. You are not called to be a collector of riches, but a carrier of legacy. Money fades. Possessions rot. Empires of men crumble. But what is invested in the eternal will echo forever. This is why God is entrusting you with more, because you will not waste it on momentary indulgence. You will steward it for impact beyond your own lifetime. We are reminded, through the writings of David in the Psalms, chapter 78, verse 72, "And David shepherded them with integrity of heart, With skillful hands, he led them. This verse is a mirror for your calling. Integrity and skill, heart and hands. Wealth is not just about what you hold, it is about how you use it. Think of wealth like oil in a lamp. If hoarded in jars, it sits idle. But when poured into a vessel and set aflame, it gives light that pushes back the night. Your resources are not meant to sit stagnant. They are meant to burn brightly, to fuel vision, to illuminate paths for those still walking in darkness. I recall the story of a woman who built an empire in her lifetime. She had every comfort, every luxury, but she died with her name barely remembered. Contrast her with another woman who lived simply but gave generously, who funded orphanages, built wells, and sent missionaries across the globe. Decades after her passing, her name is still spoken with gratitude, and her work continues. Both had wealth, but only one had purpose. Chosen one. Your blessing is your crown, but it is a crown not of vanity, but of responsibility. It is not for showing off, but for lifting up. It is not for indulgence, but for influence that shifts generations. You are called to be a bridge, connecting heaven's resources with earth's needs. Picture a great tree, its branches stretching wide, offering shade to the weary, fruit to the hungry, shelter to the lost. The tree does not consume its own fruit. It gives freely, and in doing so, it fulfills its purpose. That is the image of your destiny. You are the tree. Your wealth is the fruit, and those around you will taste and see the goodness of God through your generosity. This is the eternal perspective. What you sow now will outlive you. The schools you build, the lives you restore, the visions you fund. These are seeds that will keep bearing fruit long after your name is spoken for the last time on earth. And in eternity, those seeds will be treasures stored in heaven. Chosen one. Your crown is not fragile gold. It is eternal purpose. It is a crown of light, of legacy, of glory that reflects not on you, but on the one who called you. Wear it with reverence, steward it with wisdom, and let your life declare that true wealth is not in what you keep, but in what you release. This is your billionaire's blessing, not vanity. But destiny, not fleeting. But éternel, not shallow, but glorious, and you will walk in it. Chosen one. The message has been poured out, and the journey has unfolded step by step. You have seen how every trial was preparation, how every silence was training, and how every delay was divine design. Now you stand at the edge of destiny, crowned with purpose, called to steward the billionaire's blessing, not for vanity, but for eternal impact. This is not the end. It is the beginning of your unfolding story. Every word you have received is a seed. Some will bloom today, some tomorrow, and some in seasons yet to come. But each one carries life, and each one will bear fruit if you hold it close to your heart. As Jesus declared in the Gospel of Matthew, chapter 5, verse 16, "Let your light so shine before men, that they may see your good works and glorify your Father in heaven." That is the call, to shine, to steward, to live as a reflection of glory. And now, I extend to you a simple, beautiful invitation. Subscribe, like, share, and comment, not as mechanical actions, but as prophetic symbols. When you like, you are adding your flame to this fire, helping it burn brighter. When you share, you are casting this word like bread upon the waters, trusting it will return, multiplied in lives changed. When you subscribe, you are choosing to remain by the stream of living words, rooted and nourished in season after season. And when you comment, your words are stones of remembrance, placed so that others who come later will see and know they are not alone. This is not pressure, it is freedom, a choice, a chance to join what heaven is doing through this message. Chosen one, may your crown shine, may your influence ripple across generations, and may your blessing glorify the one who called you.